Anyway, here we got the heroes, 6 of them, all hanging out in a border town market area. Seeing what's going on. Got Gunner down there checking out the axes. Not that he needs one. Let's see what he's about anyway. Come on. Gunner Rolfson, dwarf, male. This is interesting. He's part of the Warriors class. Part of the Slayer career group. And his career is Giant Slayer. So that's interesting they do that. Class, career group, and career. Status, he's brass 2. That's the way they kind of rank you in your career. You up to silver, brass, gold, that kind of thing. 59 years old. What is he, youngin'? 4'8". Weight? No weight here. You put it in yourself. Mid-brown hair color. Amber eyes. So this is the main page. Weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, initiative. Is that initiative? Should be. Yeah. Agility, dexterity, intelligence, willpower, and fellowship. Initial, advances, modifiers, current. So let's see, as a weapon skill, which is check marked. I'm not sure what the check mark means. It says 40 XP. So his initial score is 35 on a D100 type of thing. It's a D100 system. It's 35, so 35 or less. It's his weapon skill for hitting. Advances, he took 1, he got 10. Modifiers, nothing here, so it'll be extra modifiers. Total of 45, so it's adding these. Your advances add to your modifiers, add to your initial score of 35 in this case. 45 is his total. Everything's ranked that way. So what happens when I click this where it says 45? Weapon skill test. This allows you to put in ad hoc advantages, modifiers, the skill level bonus, or success level bonus. Sorry. Success bonus. SL that is only applied on success. Example, talents. You put those modifiers here. Dialogue modifiers, that's interesting. So you could put in some, I've killed you at last, you vile villain. Difficulty is challenging, +0. Hit location, you gotta roll for that. Or you could set it to none. Roll mode, public roll, or you could make it hidden or blind or whatever you want. So this is basically going to see if he succeeds at his weapon skill test. I'm not targeting anybody, so there's nothing there, so it doesn't know what the challenge is, I don't think. Unless there's a default. Let's just roll it because I want to roll it. 50. So here it is. Roll 50 versus 45. So it did have a... Oh, it's rolling against myself. Of course. So he failed. In this case, he failed by 1, so -1. Success level is -1. Negatives are failures. Positives are success. Because I failed, whatever this difference is in tens is going to be a negative. So 5 minus 4 is 1. It's a failure, so -1. That's the success level. We could look that up and find out what it says. This describes it as a marginal failure. So only just failed. Hit location is already determined. Head. I believe what it does for the hit location is it reverses what you rolled. So a 50 would be a 5. So it's a head hit. I think that's how it works. So there's no roll needed. It tells you everything you need to know in one go. Boom, there you go. Marginal failure, success level modifier -1 to the head. So I did hit the target in the head, whatever that was. So if I was attacking somebody, that's a little different. Like, let's bring down Morella, the halfling. Come at me, big dwarf. I've got you now. So what I would do is I target this Morella using Foundry. Clunk. Oops, wait a minute. I think I just targeted myself. All right, let's do this again. Let's select Gunner. No, I just targeted him. All right. Let's get on Gunner first. I hate this targeting. Then let's go up to targeting, and let's select a target, Morella. Bunk. He's now targeted by Gunner. All right. So with that done, let's, instead of making a weapon skill check, let's go to combat page, and there's his axe. So let's attack that little halfling with a freaking axe. +7 damage. Average reach, whatever. And we're just going to slam him with this axe. I'll click it. So again, here's the dialog box. We'll say there's no other modifiers. Not charging, which will give you a bonus to hit. Yeah, okay, so we'll just roll it. And so what it does is it shows us two things. We got this. This is the roll. Weapon test axe. It's opposed because there's a target. The roll was 47 versus a 60. So he was successful. What's the degree of success? You look at the tens of the difficulty in the roll, which is 6 and 4. So 2. But it was a success, so it's going to be a +2. So let's see what it says. Success level, +2. Which will add to the damage. Normally it does 7, +2 would be 9. So you add your success level to your damage. So he's going to do 9 damage to this halfling. What does this say? Base +2 for success level, and the weapon is a +7. Strength bonus is +4, plus the weapon damage is 3, total is 7. Plus the success level is 2 more, so 9. That's where it's getting its damage modifier. That's how you do damage in this game. You don't roll dice. Well, you do. It's based on your attack roll. All right, so we got 9 points of damage on the halfling. All right, description, success, and the hit location is going to be the left leg. So I just smashed this halfling right in the left leg. So he would deduct from the damage that I do based on his toughness score and the armor he has on his left leg. If we look at his trappings, I don't think he has any armor. He's got a leather jack. I don't think that covers the legs. So this will tell you some details regarding, all right, what happened. Maybe your leg is totally destroyed and you can't walk on it no more. It has to be amputated. Things like that can happen. It doesn't say that here. I don't know why. Yeah, so after he deducts from 9, his, oh gee, let's go back and look. Toughness and armor. Let's see, where would I find that? Combat? Oh, yeah, here. Ranged weapons, melee weapons, advantages. Is this the armor? AP, what is this? Toughness bonus 3. Toughness bonus, toughness bonus. So he's got toughness 3 to all the areas that he can be hit at. So that automatically applies. It's your toughness score. Or your toughness modifier, actually. Which is 3 for him. So that, plus whatever armor. He has no armor on his left leg, as we could see here. So it's just 3 for his toughness. So 9 minus 3 is 6. So he would take 6 points of damage. That's really what would happen. Plus whatever effects affect his leg, I guess. I'm not sure. And that's it. Now the second thing they show here is the opposed test. Because that's what this is. I don't know what this means though. There's Gunner. And there's the halfling. These buttons here. You can dodge. That must be an option. And this one here is unopposed. So I guess if he opposes it, he can do things like dodge or parry and things like that. He only has the dodge. I guess if he was equipped with his... Let me see. Let's go to his trappings. He has a dagger and a hand weapon. Like a short sword or something. Let me equip that. It's probably too late now. But that would probably allow him to parry. So let's try it again. Let's go back to combat page and hit that axe. We're still targeting on the halfling, so it'll give us these 2 boxes again. Well, it gave us 1 box, didn't it? Yeah, it did. That's not targeting. Alright. I must have untargeted. Let's remove this. Let's do the scan. Target. Alright.
How about you? Arr! I'll get you, you halfling.
74. That's a failure. He needed a 60 or less. He got 74. So that's a failure by -1. Difference between 6 and 7. The tens of both results. So, -1, 6 damage. How do you do damage still? He must still do damage with this. It's a marginal failure. So he did less than normal damage. Yeah, so his damage is 7 normally. So if you minus the success level, it's actually, in this case, doing only 6. That's interesting. So you could still get some damage with this success level system used in the game. So you're not doing any at all. Target was the primary arm. Now you see down here, this is what I wanted to see. Because it's an opposed test, you get this extra box. Gunner versus Morella. So there's the dodge. The halfling could dodge this. If there's an option to hand weapon, I think that's like a parry and unopposed. Well, what happens when I click this? Hand weapon. It's a weapon test. There's a -2 to the... because of the success level bonus. Is that this as well? I don't know, it says -2. I don't know. Let's roll for funsies. Morella attempts to... I don't know, was this a parry? Weapon test, hand weapon. 7 versus 23. That's a plus... oh, +0. Oh, it's an 07. So, +0. Because the tens place is 0. Damage 6. Description, marginal success to the head. So what was this? Like a counter? I'm not sure what this was. I gotta read the rules. Morella won against Gunner by 1 success level. Ta-da! So it's actually very intuitive the way this works. Once you get your head wrapped around it, it's like, oh, that's it. That's easy. It's kind of different, but I like it. I like percentage systems. So that's what that does. Well, let's untarget this. How do you untarget? I guess that's it. Get off of that target thing. There's hotkeys to do this, which makes it much easier. So what else have we got going here on the old character sheet? It's the combat sheet. Effects such as conditions. There's conditions you could be under. Not as much as Pathfinder 2, which is good. All your injuries are kept track of here. Notes, background information on Gunner.
Grimner's beard. Not worth the risk. I want an honorable death. I've mentioned it before, but there's a tavern over there. Asgaraz.
Those are some of his quotes. Very interesting. Herr Gunnar. Initial wealth that you'll roll for. So this is the starter set. The rules are, for the most part, the same as the core game, but there are some differences, as a lot of starter sets do. They will simplify some things, or even change a way a rule works for the sake of simplicity, to make it easier to get into. Not so much to confuse, but to make it easier to get into. And that's what we're going to be playing, possibly next Sunday, featuring these 6 pre-gens. And we'll see some new folks coming into the game, not just the normals of my Sunday group. And I hope they enjoy it. So fingers crossed we could see some Warhammer Fantasy roleplay action in the future. We've got Salandra. Salandra. Let me fix my mouse. That's Salandra. We've got Ferdinand, who is a wizard's apprentice. Human. Let's come back to Salandra. Salandra is a female human. She is an officer in the military of the Empire. We've got Amris, who is a high elf. Okay. Male high elf. Merchant. Huh, he's a merchant. Okay. That'd be cool. He's good with the money. We got Elsa. Elsa's a female human witch hunter. Very cool. So we've got a witch hunter here in the group. That's excellent. I like that. I'd like to play her. She'd be awesome. And of course, we got Morella, female halfling thief. And we've got Gunnar. Of course, we know what he is. He is a male giant slayer. Dwarven male giant slayer. Coming back to Salandra, which I kind of skipped. Female human officers. No, I read this. Human. So those are our 6 pre-gens that will be featured in our upcoming games. Hopefully, first thing we're going to do is we're going to play the adventure that's in this starter set. What is it called? It's called Making the Rounds. And the way this game is set up, it's literally you learn as you play. There is no rule book per se, although it does segregate the rules, so I can look at them separately, but it's not really a rule book. Instead, the rules are in the scenario. You're going to learn them as you go through this scenario and play it. It's a pretty good scenario. And that's the main scenario of the game. There's 10 more adventures you can flesh out that are really detailed for Uber's Reich, if you want to play here in this setting. And this starter set is expanded upon later on with some additional books you can buy, or Foundry modules you can buy as well. 2 volumes, in fact, that continue the adventures in Uber's Reich by our starter characters here. So you can keep playing with the starter box. And that's what we're going to do. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I really hope they really enjoy it. I'm going to play this regardless. I just really hope that my main players on Sunday will be part of it. as opposed to, we'll do this on a different day and a different schedule with some other select people, which we can do too. But I'd rather everybody on that Sunday session. But we're going to do a one-shot, a series of one-shots over the course of the next few months. We're going to see how everybody takes the game, whether they like it. I think it's great. I have some people really excited to play who don't normally play with me on Sunday. And honestly, I think at least a few of my Sunday players will love this game. They'll love the setting. And hey, if I present it well enough, maybe I'll get them all. Wouldn't that be great? That'd be fantastic. I've always wanted to play this since first edition. I have all the first edition books from back in the day. Never played it. Always wanted to. And this is a game that's been in the back of my to-do list for years. Even recently, I've wanted to do this. And finally, after much debate within my own head, I've got other things like Lord of the Rings going up against this and some other games that aren't even fantasy that I want to play, but this one has got me really ensnared at this point. So as far as a fantasy RPG that I want to play regular as a campaign long term, this is the #1 choice. So we'll see how it goes in the next few months. And I'll be playing some other games too as one-shots for my Sunday group to see what they like. Like Vaesen and Call of Cthulhu Starter, Savage Worlds, Deadlands. But of all of them, this is the one I'd really love to play for long term. We'll see how well it goes. Regardless, I will be playing this regular. So yeah, there is that. And I'm going to record these things so you can watch us play this. So that's the background on Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay for me. Now let's see what this looks like. Let's put these 3 in combat. There, let's look at the initiative tracker. It should be by fixed initiative. Although there is an optional rule in the full game to vary this. And that's what the die roll would be. Alright, let's roll. Begin. Alright, so Amherst would be first with a 56.38, followed by Ferdinand with a 32.31, and an Elsa, 29.28. What's this? Amherst must have an ability here. So, if we go to settings, configure settings, I haven't looked at these yet. Let's look at the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition. Let's see some of the options in here. Initiative rules. Default. Highest to lowest initiative, agility tie breaks. I wonder if it's actually rolling dice for this. Because the default rules is basically whatever your initiative score is. That's your thing. There's no die roll. Configure which method is used to determine who acts first in combat. Let's see our options. Roll an initiative test. Higher success level goes first. Roll a d10 and add initiative. Higher roll goes first. Roll a d10, add initiative bonus and agility bonus. Higher goes first. Or use default. Highest to lowest initiative, agility, tie breaks. So, I'm going to guess here that what just happened was it didn't actually roll dice. That's why you didn't see a graphic of the dice rolling. It just made the sound. Instead, what it did is it took their scores in initiative and applied them directly. So This will always be initiative by default. So let's look at Amorous. You'll see his initiative is 56. And his agility, which breaks tiebreakers, is a 38. So how it shows it in the initiative tracker is a 56.38. So that .38 represents the tiebreakers. So if anyone else has 56 in initiative, his agility score, 38, will be used to break that tie between the two of them. So yeah, there was no actual die roll. Simple. So again, this starter set, everything you need to play, including the rules, but the rules are presented in an adventure format. However, there is, and I did a little extra work here on the side to make this even more useful, there is what's called reference sheets and handouts, and this basically, it's the rules where you can look at them separately. So what I did is I took all of them, made a separate little journal entry, and made it visible to all the players that join the game. They'll be able to see this journal called Player References. And if you want to learn the rules of the game, I have it set up in here anyway to make it easy. Like, here you go. Here's your little rule book. Attributes and skills, tests, combat, injury, conditions, and shopping. Now, what's interesting, if you like, look at shopping. Okay, here's the starter guide's rules for shopping. All right, it's got this list of things you can buy, but here's the thing. All these links, like to swords, axes, and maces, they're broken. And the reason why they're broken, in other words, you can't click on them or drag them to character sheets, is because they're actually from the main rulebook. As it says at the bottom, feel free to come up with other prices for other items the characters may wish to purchase based on these amounts, or refer to the Consumer's Guide, which again is a broken link to this Consumer's Guide in the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Rulebook for many more options. So you don't have access to any of this. And because they're not draggable, you can't really move them in there, at least not from this document. So you'll see a lot of this, actually broken links to even maps of places that are referenced, but they're broken because if you want them, you have to have the full core rule book, and that will open up the links here. Same thing with pictures and images that are broken. It's because they're in the core rule book. So there is that. It's nice because, okay, everything builds on the preceding, what follows. So when you do get the PDF, or not the PDF, but the Foundry module for the core book, which is cheap, but once you get that, all this unlocks, essentially. They're not broken, I should say. It's not like you can't use them. It's just, the convenience part is not there. So anyway, there's all about money and how it works in the game, and some of the things you can buy in the starter set. Attributes and skills. Here's everything about attributes and skills. Combat. Everything about combat. When a combat begins, we zoom into the action. Every character receives a turn to do something every round, using dice to determine who gets hurt and who does not. You will need to read the test reference sheet to understand these rules. So the tests are up above. Let's go to tests. Tests. Simple tests. Dramatic and opposed tests. So those are the 3 different types of tests. Anyway, all the rules are here. Outcomes table, based on your success level. Like if I got a success level of 6 or more on something, the result will be an astounding success. Have you succeeded? Yes, perfectly. You achieved your goals perfectly. So it gives you an idea of what happened. Pose tests. Let's read this real quick. Curious. 2 characters can directly compare tests to see who performs better. Doing this requires an opposed... Oh, it's just an opposed roll. An opposed test compares the results of a dramatic test for each character. The character with the highest SL, success level, on the outcomes table is declared the winner. And the difference between the individual success levels is used for the final SL of the opposed test. On a draw, the characters should re-roll their test to secure a winner. So a dramatic test is one that uses this table, where you need a success level. Normally you don't need a success level. You just roll under your challenge rating or whatever it's called. I believe that's what it is. Dramatic tests. Dramatic test explains how well a task performed. Like simple tests, roll the D100 to determine if a test is success or failure. Then subtract the tens number of the D100 roll from the tens number of the skill or characteristic being tested. Basically your challenge rating, difficulty number. The result is your success level. So if you needed an 80 and you rolled a 40, the 10s are the 4 and the 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. So if you're successful, which you are in this case, you'd get a +4 success level. It's simple, actually. A positive SL occurs when you succeed at a test. Higher the number, the better the test succeeds. A negative, blah, blah. So yeah, that's a dramatic test. But normally, you just roll under the value. Where knowing that how well you did doesn't matter. That's called the simple test. So it's actually really freaking simple. I'm actually surprised. I had the chance of playing this actually last week and blown away at how simple it actually is. I finally got a chance to read the rules now, which I'm doing right now. So if you bought this for Foundry, you get everything you need to play, including the rules. I have considered intelligence being part of the initiative order. Yeah, like in Pathfinder 2. I like that about Pathfinder 2. The way it's based on what you're doing. So if you're traveling down a corridor and this one person is like really paying attention to the walls and the runes that are written on the walls, trying to figure out what meaning it has as you're traveling, and all of a sudden an orc jumps out, well, what you're doing plays a big role in how quickly you react to the situation of this orc, right? So Pathfinder 2 allows you to use your, well, in this case, your intelligence, your occult skill, whatever, as your initiative. In fact, the GM might require you to use that as your check. If you're really bad at it, damn. If you're a thief who's hiding and using stealth at the, before the encounter happens, you get to use your stealth for your initiative. So it's a good reflection of how quickly you would react to the situation, not just physically, but mentally. So it makes sense. I like that about that. That's a pretty cool way to handle initiative and how quickly you're able to react. So simple tests. These tell you if you succeed on a fail Wait a minute. These tell you if you succeed or fail. Roll D100, and if the result is less than or equal to your skill or characteristic, you succeed. Otherwise, you fail. Failing can mean things simply take longer, not that the attempt is completely fruitless, as the GM decides. I like that. I like that control the GM has. I love that. I need that in my games. I don't want rules telling me exactly how each thing is done. So I like that. And it gives an example. Difficulty. Some tests are more difficult than others. Climbing a sheer wall is much harder than climbing a tree. To simulate this, the GM can assign a difficulty to any test. This will either add a positive bonus or a negative penalty, making the test easier or harder to pass. So, this is it. The following difficulty levels may be applied as the GM feels as appropriate. Very easy is a plus 60. Easy is a plus 40. Average is plus 20. Challenging is plus 0. So just make your roll. Difficult is minus 10. Hard is minus 20. Very hard is minus 30. The modifier is applied directly to the tested skill. So not the roll, but the skill. Either lowering or raising the target number of the test. If a test has no marked modifier, it is assumed to be challenging, i.e. plus 0. So let's say Iron Man is trying to climb a tree with lots of limbs. Like an old pine tree. It's got lots of texture on it. I mean, you should be able to shimmy up this thing. What would he roll? Let's say just for fun, it's a strength check. Let's say he has a 28 in strength. All right, he's not very strong. He works behind a desk all day, so he's 28. All right, but because this tree is so easy to climb, I rule it as a plus 40. In other words, it's easy. So his number he needs is a 28, his strength. Plus 40 is 68. So he now will climb that tree with a 68 or less. And in this case, this is a simple check. There's no success levels involved. He either makes it or he doesn't. All right? So let's roll his die and see what Iron Man does. So I would click his strength button from his character sheet. Now right here, because I gave him a plus 40, let's see how this works. Plus 40. Oh no, I don't have to do it that way. There's a space right here for difficulty. I would tell him, oh, it's easy. And Iron Man would go to here and he'd go to easy. And boom, it gives him a plus 40. Okay, let's roll. Oh, this is great, man. I love this. All right, he got a 69. Imagine that. 6'9". And Iron Man just mentioned that. He got a 6'9" versus a 68 challenge rating, or whatever it's called. What is it called? Is it just called difficulty? No. What is it called? Challenge rating? I don't know. Anyway, it's 68. He got a 69. It's a failure. So 6 compared to 6 is 0. The success level would be minus 0 because there's no difference between the tens values here, which are both 6. But again, this is a simple test. Skill level or success level doesn't matter. We just wanted to know if he failed. So it was a failure. Marginal failure in this case if we're using levels. We're not. So it's a failure. So he tried and tried and tried for 10 minutes to struggle up that tree. So I rule that it takes him 20 minutes to get to the top of that tree. In other words, failing forward just takes longer. So yeah, it's as simple as it is. This is great. This is so freaking simple. That's a simple test. Dramatic is where you use success levels. You compare the tens of both the result and the challenge rating number or whatever it is. Opposed tests, you know, is a dramatic test as well, and you're comparing between two or more individuals who are rolling against each other. That's all it is. There's your tests. Combat's the same way. My dream system will not have a thief class. But just thief-like skills that are available to anyone. Oh, why have classes at all then? Really? At my age, there better be a lot of limbs starting low on that tree. I'm thinking of the tree in front of my house here. I haven't had a 6'9" in many years. You did mention it. It's funny it came up. It's magical. Did you ever take a look at Iron Man? Did you ever look at the what's the name of this role-playing game? Worlds Without Number. The fantasy one. It's got classes. There's only four, I think 4 or 5, but they're very generic. It's like warriors, rogues, and within those you can be just about anything you damn well want. That's pretty broad. I think there's one class that is whatever you want. You're not part of a group like warriors or spellcasters. Instead, you're whatever you want. I'm not a huge fan of that, actually. It depends on what I'm in the mood for. You know, there's times where I feel like I'm just in the mood for old school D&D classes, you know? Or there's times where I want a percentage-based, skill-based system with no levels and professions, like Call of Cthulhu or this, fantasy roleplay. Yeah. I spy a VTT. Yes, you do, Ryan. It's me fiddling around. Got my painting done today. I'm just taking a look at my Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay VTT. You're invited to play, Ryan, if you'd like. You too, Arn, if you ever want to give it a shot. I'll bring you in on one of the one-shots I'm going to be doing. I don't want to have too many people. There's a lot of people right now, but you guys are definitely invited. I want to see how it goes with my Sunday group first. But even if they don't want to play it for whatever reason, I am going to play this. Probably on a different day. But first I'm going to run some one-shots over the next few months for them. And see how well it goes. I love this game. I've wanted to play this since I was a kid. Well, I don't know if I was a kid back then. I have all the first edition, but I never played it. So I'm finally coming around to, you know what, let's give this a chance, as opposed to some other things that I've thought about as well for fantasy. So I'm going to play this damn thing for once in my life. And I like it. Can I make this bigger? Yeah, I could. Why is that showing up like that, though? I want my camera over top. I might get angry there. Yeah, my camera is over top now. Let me turn this camera off. Get out of here. Let me turn this camera off. You'd think I'd be more professional. Discord video? What the heck is Discord video? Discord folks? Is that what I'm calling it? Discord folks? No, oh, Discord cameras. Yeah, let's turn that off. Folks? Discord folks? Wow. All right, Iron Man. Take care, Iron Man. Be safe. Enjoy the walk. Iron Man, everybody. Iron Man. I'm just going through the rules here. I haven't actually read any of this. Combat. You have a move and an action on your turn. These can be taken in any order. It's presumed you are probably doing both at the same time, and you are encouraged to describe them as one combined maneuver, obviously. Once every character has taken a turn, a new round begins and everyone has the opportunity to take another turn, starting with the character with the highest initiative. So everything's done in your initiative score, agility scores, break ties. By default, that's how it works with initiative. There's options of rolling. I'm going to use the default. It'll be easier for folks to play and learn this game. Alright, let's look at some of the things you can do. You get move and an action. Alright, move. Move involves walking, charging into combat, or running. The GM decides how far you can move on your turn. As a loose guide, you can move M times 2 yards when walking, and M times 4 yards when you're charging or running. So M, of course, is your movement stat in your character sheet. Again, this is the starter set. The rules are simplified for us, and I'm good with that. Let's look at Elsa, the witch hunter. Her move statistic, let's see. Oh, it's not actually part of the stats. It's down here. Movement 4. And it tells us 8 yards for walking, 16 yards for running. So basically what it just said there. Times 2 or times 4. Alright, so it's on our sheet right there. What happens if I click this? Nothing. So if you wanted to use a grid, you could do so. That's what they're there for. Alright, action. An action involves figuring out what to do and then testing a skill to see if it's successful, if that's required. The most common action in combat is trying to hit someone with a weapon using weapon skill for melee and ballistic skill for ranged. Ah, classic Warhammer. But any skill can be tested on your turn. Maybe you're trying to decipher some writings on a note that you're reading in the middle of a combat. Example, Elsa would like to escape the crowded brawl as soon as possible. So the GM tells her player to attempt a simple dodge test for her action. Alright, so there you go. Those are actions. Fighting. When you want to attack an opponent, you perform a weapon skill test. We did this earlier. for melee attacks, ballistic skill for ranged attacks for your action. Melee attacks are always opposed tests. In other words, you're testing at the same against your target. You're both rolling dice against each other, essentially. Unless the defender has the condition unconscious or surprised condition. So if you surprise him, it's going to be an unopposed test. He's not going to roll dice to defend himself. The defender uses their weapon skill or dodge skill to oppose the attack. If the attacker scores more success levels than the defender, it's a successful hit. Ranged attacks are dramatic but unopposed and hit if the character passes the ballistic skill test. Okay. If an attacker hits, reverse the attack roll. Let's say roll a 25 to become 52. Reverse the attack roll to determine where the body the hit has landed. Now all this is automated. So if you rolled a 55 on your attack roll, well, that's a terrible example. If you rolled a 92 on your attack roll and it was a success, you would roll a 29 for your hit location. So basically it just reverses it. There's no actual die roll to see where you hit. You just reverse the digits in your attack roll. Okay. If the attacker hits, reverse the attack roll to determine where on the body the hit is landed. Oh, this needs editing. I made a mistake here. Let me fix this. Is this right? Now let's save. All right, let's see what it says. 1 to 9 is a head. 10 to 24 is left arm. 25 to 44 is right arm. Then you got body, left leg, right leg. That's it. The hit location is used to see if there is any armor protecting the area. Again, if there is, you add the armor value plus your toughness and deduct it from the damage. That's how it works. The attack deals amount of damage equal to the test's success level. So if you're successful by 6, which is a lot, that would add to your damage, plus the attacker's strength bonus. For melee attacks in this case. The damage is reduced by the defender's toughness bonus plus armor points on the area of the body, and the excess is subtracted from the wounds. That's it. See the injury reference sheet for more on how to handle wounds and what happens when wounds fall to 0. Let's go check that out. Injury. There's a little note at the bottom. The starter set's critical wound table has been omitted as it is not used in favor of the core rulebook's tables. Which makes me think, since I don't have the core rulebook in here, does that mean I don't get any table? I think so. Bastards, they're making me buy the core rulebook. Every character has a number of wounds. Let's look at Elsa here. Where is the wounds? Is it down here? There's movement. Fortune, fate, resolve, and resolute wounds is right here. So she has 16. Loss of these represents cuts, bruises, and abrasions. Wounds are lost whenever you take damage. Damage is most commonly caused by combat. Refer to the combat reference sheet, which we're reading, for more on that. Each point of damage you suffer causes you to lose 1 wound. So, if you suffer 5 points of damage, you lose 5 wounds. Often, especially in combat, your toughness bonus and armor points can reduce damage you suffer. We read that. If you fall to 0 wounds, you gain the prone condition. There are conditions in this game, like 5e and Pathfinder. Not as many. which you cannot remove until you return to at least 1 wound. Worse, if you stay at 0 wounds for more than the toughness bonus in rounds, the prone condition becomes unconscious condition, and you pass out. If you would ever be reduced to negative wounds, you take a critical wound instead. Let's read critical wounds, shall we? Some blows are so terrible they cause critical wounds. These occur in the following circumstances. If you are reduced to negative wounds, suffer a critical wound instead and set your wounds to 0. So if you're never taking below 0 wounds, stat-wise, you never make it a -1 or a -2. But if you ever do, if it ever would take you below 0, that's when you take a critical wound. Say you had 5 wounds and you took 6 points of damage. All right, you drop to 0 wounds, and you take a critical because you'd be at -1 really. You lost more hit points than you had, or wounds. So that's what that means. If an opponent rolls a critical hit, a double under their weapon skill, like 11, 22, 33 your weapon skill, you take a critical wound. Further, you also suffer extra wounds as detailed in the crit column of the critical wound table. Now, where is this table? What do I do here? I don't have the core rulebook. So what do? When a critical wound is suffered, roll D100 and consult the critical wound table to determine what critical wound you suffer and its effects. If you suffered a critical hit, I do have access to the table actually, so I'm okay. But it seems like that's not really fair, is it? Why would you take it out and replace with something that I have to buy all of a sudden? So that's a bad mark right there on these guys. Let's read. If you suffered a critical hit, you also suffer a crit column as damage that is not modified by toughness bonus or armor points. So you lose that many extra wounds. This extra wound loss will not lower you below 0 wounds, so cannot trigger a second critical wound. If a character ever suffers more critical wounds than their toughness bonus, whilst having the unconscious condition, they die. For minor characters, dropping to 0 wounds results in death or unconsciousness as determined by the GM. I don't understand why they would take that out of this. Unless it's somewhere else, but there's no link to it. Yeah, so that's weird. Very weird. There's conditions. Let's look at the conditions. There's not many in the starter set. Ablaze, bleeding, broken, fatigued, prone, stunned, surprised, and unconscious. The fact this game uses surprise is nice. I like it. You've been caught unawares. You can take no action or move and cannot defend yourself in opposed tests. The first opponent is trying to strike you in melee. Gains a bonus of plus 20 to hit. At the end of the round, you lose all surprise conditions. Very nice. I like it a lot. Bleeding. You are bleeding badly. There's 1 wound at the end of every round per bleeding condition you have, ignoring all mods. 1 bleeding condition can be removed with a successful dramatic heal test, with each success level restoring or removing an additional bleed condition. When you remove all bleeding conditions, gain a fatigued condition. Very nice. I like it. All right, that's it. Talks about gaining them and removing them. So that's it. And yeah, there is no critical wounds table anymore in the starter set. In favor of the core rulebook's tables. So I guess you would have to have access to the core rulebook, which isn't expensive, but it's another Foundry module, which you gotta have if you enjoy the game. You're gonna get it. and it will update all this. But what if you don't? You know? I mean, is there something else that happens here? When a critical wound is suffered, roll D100 and consult the critical wound table to determine what the critical wound you suffer and its effects are. All right, there's no table anymore. If you suffered a critical hit, you also suffer the crit column as... See, there is no table for that. Unless it's somewhere else. I don't know. Let's look real quick here. And yeah, you will find broken links in this, and it's because it's referring to the core rulebook. So if you don't have it, it's a broken link. I'm trying to see if it goes into any advantage. Did I read damn advantage? Advantage. But how come I didn't read that? Let's go back to combat. Oh yeah, I didn't read it all. Well, let's read about advantage, because I didn't read that yet. Now let's go back here and read this. What is advantage? Combat has a momentum to it, with success bringing greater feats of glory. This is called advantage. With each advantage token given, the roller gets plus 10 bonus to all combat actions. Period. Plus 1 advantage is gained for each of the following: attacking an opponent with a surprised condition. We just read that earlier. Spending your move charging headlong into combat. So if you charge, you're going to get a plus 10. Defeating an important NPC. Hey, plus 10. Winning an opposed test during combat. Causing damage to an opponent without making an opposed test. Characters lose all accrued advantage if they lose any opposed tests or take a wound. And it goes through an example. There's also a section here in the adventure that talks about pulling punches. Whenever characters pass a test and roll a double, 22, 33, 44, 55, and so on, during combat, they score a critical hit. That was referenced before, so it is in there. For this first combat, you should ignore this rule, as the brawling horde is pulling its blows, meaning the mob is not actively trying... I shouldn't read that. That's the adventure we're playing. But anyway, that's that. So there you go. So it's not much at all for the starter set. I like it. What's this? Oh, my settings here. Configure which tables to roll. Alright, tables. Initiative rules. We did that. Advantage cap 10. Cap advantage at IB. Don't know what that means. Automatic success is 5. Automatic failure is 96. These are the defaults of the game. Fast success level. Determine SL with the fast SL optional rule No, I don't have that. Test above 100%, blah, 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 blah. Manual chat card. So there's lots of options here for the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition core. Use Winds of Magic Malignant Influences. Oh, group initiative. Is that a group initiative? Throw money. Throws coins when the payment or credit system is used. Whatever that is. Alright. What else we got here? Token action HUD. Oh, that's right. I don't see it on. Let me see. Yeah, where's the token action HUD? I have this installed. I don't see it on. So let's see if we could fix that. Token action HUD core, token action HUD for Warhammer 4E. Custom style, layout. How come I don't see it? Style Pathfinder. Enable HUD. Always show HUD. Display character name. How come I don't see the HUD though? Open groups by clicking instead of hovering. I don't know why it's not showing the HUD. Let's see. Am I missing something? Is there a HUD somewhere? I don't see a HUD. Let's refresh. Unless the HUD is somehow different, but it shouldn't be. It should be the HUD. It appears up here in the middle of the screen. I don't see it. So, token action HUD for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4E, I have it enabled. And token action HUD core, which you gotta have to use that, I also have enabled. And so I don't know. Set the direction the HUD will expand. Automatic. Dragging when unlocked. Enable HUD. Yes, it's enabled. Where is it? Role handler. Fantasy roleplay. Allow HUD for players. Enable customization. Always show HUD. Display character name. Yeah, I don't know why it's not showing up. Oh. I love the HUD in Foundry. If you don't have the HUD, it means you got to open the character sheet. or have macros for various things you use a lot. HUD brings all that stuff up here in a nice shorthanded bar that you can hover over and click on things. So I guess I gotta figure that out. That's not working. Too bad. Very sad indeed. Submit a grudge. Seems like I had this problem before in the past with Pathfinder. I don't remember what I did. Shift roll mode. Default bypass mode. What is this? If checked, all rolls will be bypassed by default. No. Show advantage descriptions. Yes. Display unequipped. No. Group magic lores. No. Group trappings. No. Maximum characters. Maximum number of characters displayed in action names. Why does it say 0? Set 0 to disable trimming. Oh, okay. Well, that's that. So it's no setting there. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I want my token action HUD. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I'll have to figure that out offline. Okay. So there you go, folks. That's a look at the macro. You guys are curious. This is how I run my games, usually through Foundry. In this case, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And overall, pretty good. All kinds of background information to read here. You can see the broken links. While many Reichlanders find solace in the tears of Schleia, Ulrich's fury, or the uncompromising rigor of the cult of Sigmar, others succumb to darker impulses. Korn, Nurgle, the villagers of Saul. What's that about? Slanesh. The circle of unmarred flesh. Yes, come join us. Zinch, the shifting grasp. The fractured eye. Other cults. The yellow bellies of the horned god. Skaven. Yes. The horned rat is a god of entropy and schemes, worshipped by the chittering hordes of clandestine ratmen called the Skaven. I like it. The faceless ones. The cult of the Bog King. So yeah, for a starter set, the content regarding the lore is awesome. There's a lot in here, particularly on the Ubersreich, which is the setting, which is actually, I think, in the southern part of the empire, as opposed to the Reichland. It's Ubersreich, which, if you don't know, is actually the home place of Vermintide if you play it on Steam. Actually, I heard that in the starter set they actually have statted out the characters from Vermintide in here. In their younger days. They're actually in here somewhere. It's not these characters here, is it? No. Somewhere in here. Adventures in Ubersreich. Let's see. These are 10 additional adventures that you can flesh out to your heart's content without buying additional books. Dark cults we just looked at. Provinces of Ubersreich. There is maps for all this, of course. Let's go look at a map. Huh, that's interesting. Let's look at Ubersreich and its surrounds. So this will be a big map. So here's the Duchy of Ubersreich. Barony of Ladies Vale. Graustadt. The Barony of Graustadt. County of Widows Vale. Barony of Teufeltal. With the devil. March of Grey Lady Pass. Grunwald Lodge. Gotheim. So there you go. That's the big map. It scales up here. Let's look at the Duchy. Let's see what that looks like. Let me see, why is this doing that? Duchy. Value must be greater than or equal to 1. Foreground elevation. Why is this set to 0 then? Ubersreich. Duchy. So this is the Duchy map. I guess it's kind of like a ruler's thing. Grauwerk. Kraustadt. That's a boring one. Let's look at Ubersreich City. Let's look at that one. This will be the city map. We'll get to the chat in a second. Where are we here? Ubersreich City. There you go. Not bad. Very doable. Not very colorful, but there it is. Precinct. Black Rock. Black Rock. It's funny. Artisans Quarter. Marktplatz. Teufel. Ah, the Devil River. What's that about? Huh. Let me see, is there? I don't see any. Oh, there we go. Alright, so if you look close, you'll actually see it is hyperlinked. I was so zoomed out, you didn't see anything. I should probably check the other maps. You could turn that on and off. These are journal notes. So for instance, Customs House. Let's open that up and see right here what it says. Blah, 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 blah. So that's nice. Lots of locations here. That's really nice. So highly useful map. What's this one? Obersreich, 3rd Barracks. Again, these broken links are references to the core rulebook. If you don't have it, you're going to get a broken link. How you doing, Harry? How's everything doing with you? Everything's absolutely fantastical on my end. Just looking at a VTT for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. The starter set, anyway. Hope to be playing it next week, next Sunday, as a one-shot with my group. This is the first I've actually looked at it.